Good evening. Welcome to RedArmy. What a week. 7 days. What a different 7 days, Max. 2 wins, 3 games undefeated. Things are looking a little bit better than they did last week, but we're going to go through it all. Please get your questions in, get your comments in, and we'll go through everything from the Southampton game to the Bradford City game to the Watford game at the weekend. Obviously, the Exeter City future cup tie and everything else. But we're going to start. Special guest. We've got Caroline on the show. Welcome, Caroline.
Hi, thank you very much indeed. I'm really glad I'm talking to you this week and not last week or the week before.
I'll be honest, I don't really know how to take this. This has been the first time that we've had a show on the back of a league victory. Obviously, we still let the first goal in again. Obviously, looking at the game in its context, Caroline. What was your thoughts on the game? Were you obviously pleased with the victory, but what was your thoughts? Obviously going 1-0 down again. What was your thoughts during the game?
Yeah, well, 1-0 down, we keep giving that away, and we were lucky that we managed to come back to it. I thought actually Southampton weren't anywhere near as good as I thought they would be, but I thought we did look better. We definitely looked better. We looked sharper, we looked quicker. We've always been creating chances, I think, all season. Yeah. We just haven't got that person to take them. Now, whether if Chuba Akpom was still here, he'd be a 30-goal-a-season man this season, who knows? But it was great that Johnny Howson stood up, leader, took the penalty. And yeah, I was pleased. I was pleased with the performance. I think it's starting to click. I don't think we're anywhere near where we were with our peak with Michael Carrick last season, but there's definitely signs that it's looking better.
Just picking up on a couple of points you said about Southampton not looking at what you expected. I think prior to last week's show, obviously the game, that we thought Southampton were obviously still full of Premier League footballers from last season, still got a big squad, still got useful players. I also was disappointed with them. I thought that I expected a lot more. I thought with a few new players, I thought they might have been a little bit more dangerous. I thought it would have caused us more problems than what they did. I thought they would have been a harder to break down, which they weren't. And I was really, really disappointed in them. But I think that's the championship for you, I guess, that you can't second guess. You can't think teams are good if you know what I mean.
No, you can't. I mean, anybody can beat anybody in the championship on their day. There's no doubt about that. And Leicester, okay, at the moment are looking as though they might run away with it, but they're going to hit a sticky patch because you've got long journeys, you've got 2 games a week. You know, it will take its toll. They won't be used to playing like that. So anybody can beat anybody.
Totally agree. You said another great point about Johnny Howson stepping up as a leader. I don't think we've had that this season, if I'm perfectly honest. I know Johnny's been in and out, and he for me has always been that person who leads the changing room, leads the lads. He did it all last season, and he's done it since he's came to the club, really. Do you think that's just been because he hasn't played personnel-wise? That's why we haven't had a leader on the pitch, as no one else probably stepped up or been able to lead the players? I
think so, because I don't think there are any other leaders in the team in the same way that Johnny Howson is. I don't know whether this is correct or not, but I did hear a rumour that they actually all got themselves together in the dressing room. And the thing that came out of that was, to get out of this mess we're in, we need leaders. And Johnny Howson was the first one to step up and say, I haven't been performing and I should be leading by example. And then went out and gave some couple of really good performances. And he took that penalty, which you wouldn't have expected him to take. You would have thought that Josh Coburn would have took it. But he took responsibility, scored, and I think he's just stepped up. I mean, I presume that they brought Dan Barlasser in to replace Johnny Howson as his legs started going. But actually, the last couple of games, his legs look as good as they ever were.
I think it's pleasing for me, if that is true, that the players got together, which I think was so important, by the way. I think, you know what I mean, back in the day that I played, I think when you have really tough times, it's really important that you're together as a group. I think it's really important that people have a voice. You know what I mean? If you're Johnny Howson, is probably one of the most experienced players, or you're Josh Coburn, who's a baby in terms of football life and in his journey so far. But I think everyone's got to have an opinion. But leading on the pitch, you know what I mean, to be able to take on a pressure penalty and be able to stand up and be counted is such a skill. You know, it doesn't matter about age. Age is just a number. And I think it's really, really important that we see how important players like Johnny Howson are.
Absolutely.
You know, everyone's been talking about Riley McGree, and I've been saying the same thing, but I think sometimes you oversee and you don't see what's in front of you. And the really important players are the people who do all the donkey work. I mean, I'll go back to when I played the Robbie Mustors and the Steve Vickers and the Curtis Flemings, those who didn't get the limelight, those who didn't get the praise and the reward.
And but they're integral, completely integral part of the team.
If you don't have those players in the right holes, then the whole economics, they don't work, the cog doesn't work, and the wheels don't go around, you know what I mean? So for me, Johnny has played a huge part in this club moving forward with the position we're in.
Absolutely.
And I think Saturday showed how important it was.
And you'll know better than me, but they do say that a big part of the game is mental as much as physical.
Yeah, totally.
Having that leader there out on the pitch, with new players coming in, trying to come into the system, it must be a big thing. You come to a new club, new colleagues, new players, you've got probably new homes, new houses, bringing your family up. Maybe we're just expecting a bit too much of them. And quite a few of the lads we've brought in are youngsters. And so they really need to be given some time. Yeah. The Sammy Silveras, the Morgan Rogers, the Emmanuel Latte-Lath. They got the chance. I know we'll be talking about Bradford. They got their chances then. But we just got to give them a bit of time. Yeah.
But those players that you're talking about there, they've come through development football. You know what I mean? So they haven't come from competitive, real full-time football in terms of competitive League One.
Yeah,
League
they haven't
Two,
been playing week
you know,
in, week out at that level.
It's so hard for them to come in the Championship, which is a brutal, hard, tough, competitive league, and expected to perform straight away. And you know what I mean? I think we've had that much different and change in our recruitment. It's been so hard for the players, and especially the new ones coming in. The expectation to follow the players who were in. You know what I mean? I'm not going to harp on about. I think we've given enough airtime to players who have left and things, and it's time to support and back the players who are here, back the players who want to wear that red shirt and that badge for the club. And it's hopefully things have turned. Hopefully we've turned a corner. Hopefully we've seen things which have knitted together. I know we spoke about the Sheffield Wednesday game previously on the show, how bad the first half was, but since half time of the Sheffield Wednesday game, things have looked a lot better. Second half we were decent against Sheffield Wednesday. We've got 3 points on the board in the league. We're obviously going to speak about the cup game, which was quite straightforward in terms of performance and result. But the Southampton game, it was quite 50-50. We edged possession by a couple of percent.
Yeah, it was almost exactly 50-50 on the stats, I think, on all the stats, wasn't it?
I think passes, where we had 499, they had just died at 480, the shots on target 5 each, so it could have gone either way. And I think a penalty was going to win the game. And I think if they'd have got the second goal, I think it probably would have killed us off a little bit. But goals change games, and we spoke earlier about that first goal being pivotal. I think the first goal on Saturday woke us up for the first time this season, where normally the first goal this season has killed us and knocked us a little bit. On Saturday, I think it woke us up. And if that's the sign moving forward, I think that's a good sign, because we will get the first goal. And if we get the second goal and the third goal,
we've got to kill off the games once we start playing well.
We're doing it in the cups, Caroline. So
we are. No, absolutely we are. Yes.
League, is it a mental thing? We talk about the mental side of football, but fingers crossed we can.
It's confidence now, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
Confidence must be so much higher.
Hopefully,
than it has been.
And I think,
Yeah.
Got a few comments in the chat. Good evening, Ian, Stuart. Ian James said, I watched the highlights of the playoff game versus Bradford and Essen Park in the 1980s. Amazing game. I was brought up. That was my
absolutely. Wasn't Johnny Hendry playing for Bradford
John Hendry played up front with Ian Ormond, I believe, that day.
Right.
And I think we got beat down at that place. I think we got beat at Valley Parade 1-0.
Yeah.
And then we won 2-0 at Essen Park. I think, was it Trevor Senior scored the winning goal? I think maybe for Middlesbrough, and Bernie scored one of them
Bernie
as well.
scored one, I know that.
Yeah, so great times. And I think you remember those times and those moments pivot very, very well, because obviously we beat Bradford, went to Chelsea, and obviously the rest is history, isn't it? And I think it's part of our history, part of the way that we got brought up as a Boro fan. Yeah,
that Chelsea match, that was a war of attrition for the supporters.
The home one was better than the away one for the supporters,
absolutely.
I guess. You know what I mean? I think I remember watching it with my dad and seeing the aftermath and the celebrations and things, and obviously the incidents after the game, which weren't great.
Stood behind the goal, and
it was really nice to get
it was fantastic to celebrate. It was a bit scary at times as well, to be honest. But
please get your comments in, get your questions in for us for moving forward. Caroline, we'll move forward, look at midweek game, because obviously winning on Saturday was important, because we needed to break that duck. We needed to get the monkey off the back in terms of getting points on the board.
The
league table still looks bad, but it looked horrific. It looked really poor. Every player looks at it. I don't care what people say they don't.
No.
Every manager looks at it. Fans always look at it.
When you look at your bottom with 1 point,
especially when
can't be good.
Especially now, years ago it was teletext, wasn't it? And it'd flash up. But now it's Sky Sports News. It's there every day. It's flashing up every day. It just keeps on revolving, and it's not a nice look. It's not a nice watch. But obviously it's changing and evolving. So we just need to make sure we continue that mindset, I guess, as footballers, and make sure we can get as many results as we possibly can.
Start climbing up the table.
Yeah, totally. What about the Bradford game? A little bit more straightforward. Were you confident going in it?
Pretty confident, to be fair, particularly off the back of a win against Southampton. Yeah, I think it was really straightforward, to be honest. More straightforward than I potentially thought it would be, because often these are, banana skins, these type of games. But they seem to go in it with the right attitude.
Yeah.
Frawley made some changes. It's actually the players who brought in, Dan Barlatter, I don't know if you've seen his heat map.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Outrageous.
And his passes, absolutely fantastic. I think it's probably his best game for
Do
Middlesbrough.
you think on that point, Caroline, do you think players had a point to prove?
Oh, definitely.
Because
I think so.
You got on the back of a win in the league, which I think players expect to win because you go into a game expecting and wanting to win. But I think after a win, if you've been brought in, you have to perform and perform well in order to be considered for selection at Watford or for future games. We've got some massive games coming up, big games in terms of got a derby coming up around the corner, which is a huge game everyone wants to play in, but you only look towards your next game. And I think the Barlasses, Lath got a goal. I think other players were good in levels of performance, attitude, because in the cup I looked at
attitude, isn't it?
I think I looked at the cup game and I looked at the squad before the game and thought, yes, I'm pleased he made some changes, because there's players who've been in and out. There's players who deserved an opportunity who've probably been unlucky this season for various reasons. We dominated the game in terms of possession. We dominated the games in terms of passes, shots, chances created. I was very disappointed in terms of Bradford, because I thought that this was a real opportunity for them to beat a bigger club.
No, absolutely, and they didn't really turn up.
And
they didn't
the
really
history
turn
of Bradford in the cup has been quite strong, quite good, and I think they'll have been quite disappointed. I think the 4,000 Middlesbrough fans, outrageous. I think we've got to make a comment about that, because there's no club outside the Premier League who takes that kind of support anywhere.
Yeah.
And for those 4,000 to go there, continue to support, back, excite the players with what they're doing off the pitch. You know what I mean? The players respond. You know what I mean? As a player, you respond to what you hear and what you see, and you know what I mean. How can you not be excited?
How can you not respond to that? Yeah, you have to, don't you?
Know
Particularly on a Tuesday night in Bradford, cup game. If they can't get up for that with that crowd there, there's no. I mean, we were just talking earlier on. We maybe touch on it later. But the amount of miles that Middlesbrough fans are going to have to travel over the next couple of months, absolutely crazy. But they'll go.
Yeah. Well, one weekend in particular, I think we'll touch on when we speak about the next cup game. But I think it's so important though that we talk about that the players back themselves when supporters back them. You know what I mean? And I think Middlesbrough fans will always back players. You know what I mean? They'll always have their opinions, which is great, because no opinion's wrong. I don't like to hear boos. I don't like to hear negativity. But at the end of the day, people pay good money to go and watch the team, and if they choose to have their opinion negatively, then
that's up to them, really, isn't it?
I think I mean, as a player, you've got to respond to the positives and you've got to respond to the negatives. You know what I mean? Everything can't be all rosy. The league table looked and still doesn't look great. So you can't expect everything to be positive. You've got to take the rough with the smooth and look forward, and hopefully wins will change people's attitudes on certain players. Wins will change attitudes on chairmen, CEOs and managers, and you know what I mean? And that's all it is. For me, and I've said it last week when we were without these 2 wins, we've got the best manager outside the Premier League. We've got the best chairman in football. In Britain, in my opinion. We've got the best fans. We've got everything going forward. We just need to make sure that we get in a better place. You know what I mean? If that's a positive finish of the season, a positive before Christmas, moving forward in the cup, then so be it. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and get carried away. You know what I mean? I've heard a lot of ridiculous things.
Yes, apparently we're going to win both the Carabao Cup at Wembley. We're going to get promoted, and we'll probably be in the Champions League in 2 years. I think slightly unrealistic.
Yeah, the bare minimum. I think the bare minimum.
Is it not much better than what we were feeling about 3 weeks ago? To be honest,
even 7 days ago, Caroline, that we were looking at relegation. We were going to get beat by Bradford. Now we're going to win the Carabao Cup.
Now we're going to win it. Yeah.
So listen, keep that glass half full. Keep the excitement going. Keep the buzz going, because the lads will be buzzing. The lads will want to play straight away. The lads have to wait another couple of days, prepare right, and get ready for a big game moving forward.
But you're right about buzzing, doesn't it? Just make everything different and better. You can actually look at social media without wanting to slit your wrists, and going into work on a Monday morning everything's just much better when you win.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think that's supporters. I think that's players. That when you play and you lose, you feel tired. When you're winning and things are just flowing,
you can just keep on going and going and going.
You don't pick any injuries up. You don't pick any suspensions up. Players don't feel tired. You can't wait to get out there. Whereas when you lose and you're playing negatively, and there's a bad feeling on the place, that the games come fast and you don't want to play. You know,
Yeah,
I've been
I
there,
can
and
imagine.
it is such a shame, but it's part of football. You know, there's teams in worse positions than us at the minute. There's teams who've been knocked out of the cup in midweek. There's teams who have had a worse start than we've had.
Oh,
you know, so we just need to
absolutely,
make
yeah.
sure that we continue. We just continue on the upward protection, you know, and go where we go. Please continue to get your questions in. Any question is a good question, and we'll go through it. Caroline, I want to look at, obviously we played Southampton at the weekend. Great result against a big side in terms of stature, in terms of expectation. But we've got 4 big ones coming up in the next 4 weeks. Starting on Saturday at Vicarage Road against Watford.
Tough game, very tough place to go.
Notoriously not a good team that we've got a good record against. We've always struggled. I think we drew there last year or did we get beat last year with a last minute winner? It's not a place that we enjoy going. They're always strong, physically strong, quick. They always seem to score goals. So what's your expectations for that?
To be honest, I'd be delighted with a draw.
Yeah.
Absolutely delighted. I mean, if we get a win, that'll just be amazing. But I will be pretty pleased with a draw. It's like you say, it's a tough place to go. We've got to be able to try and play our football, and they're going to try and stop us playing our football. Yeah. But also, we've got to be clinical. If we get a chance, we've got to take it, because I don't think we're going to get too many chances. So, and if we don't take those chances, then we're not going to win the game. But yeah, come away from there with a point. I think that's a pretty good point.
Yeah. And I think if you can set those kind of targets out, if you can get a point, nick a point away from home, and you're getting strong at home, and you're making the Riverside a fortress. You know what I mean? 4 points every 2 games is
that's what they say, isn't it? Yeah.
Promotion
Win your home games, draw your away games.
If we can try and do that, and then nick the odd 3 away at times, you know, because the Sunderland games are always a game where it's a flip of a coin, because if you turn up and you win the battles, you'll get something. Yeah. Cardiff in midweek, I think will be a tough one, because they've picked up. They won the last couple of games. They won their Welsh derby.
It's another really hard place to go, Cardiff.
Yeah, and Birmingham after the Sunderland game. So listen, it's still going to be tough, you know, but we can't get carried away. But you're only as good as your last game. And your last game against Southampton or Bradford was much better.
Was much better, yeah, absolutely. So every game in the Champions is hard. You just got to do the very best you can. Yeah. I think we're starting to show the green shoots of recovery. We've just got to keep that going. We'll get knockbacks and we'll get setbacks, and we just can't let them get to us. Yeah. We've just got to then say, right, okay, that was a blip. Yeah. We're moving on upwards.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's important to look at it in isolation like that we're not going to win every game for the rest of the season. We're not going to stay unbeaten for the rest of the season. We're not going to potentially win the cup. We're not, you know what I mean? We've got to look at where we are right now, where we can get to. For me, get to mid-table, look at where we can get to quicker rather than later. And for me, if we can get in around the top 10 before Christmas, I'd be absolutely delighted from where we are now.
Because then we can make a real challenge.
Then we can look at the
playoff
window and see what's going on,
yeah.
you know. And I think because the quicker we get away from this bottom 3 and away from the mess, I think we can start then looking up and making some progress, because you can get embroiled in it, you can get stuck in it, you can get the negativity can fly around, and like I say, it's just you can get dragged into something which is unnecessary.
And we were starting to. I know it wasn't many games in, but we were starting to before Southampton.
We were in it, unfortunately,
we were.
And I think the message that I got from a lot of fans was no team's good enough to go down. You know what I mean? Too good to go down. Sorry, and big clubs still go down.
Big clubs go down.
Man City years ago, ended up all the way down in League One. Sunderland have only just come back up from being in League One. You know, we need to make sure that we don't get embroiled in it. Don't get carried away, but we need to just continue to pick points. So Watford will be a really tough one. You know, they've won, drawn and lost the last 5. You know, so they're going into it probably just the same, if not
just the same.
Similar
As
to us.
they need.
I
think they feel as though they need to get a win in front of their own
so I think
fans.
It's going to be. It won't be a tough play to go as in mentally for the players. I think it's always a nice place to go and play your football. You know, it won't be intimidating. You know what I mean? There'll be a decent crowd there, but Middlesbrough fans will go there in the numbers.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they'll back the players after the last 2 games. And I believe, like you, I think I'd be over the moon with the draw. But that would be Middlesbrough all over to go and nick the 3. You know, so
I hope so. I really hope so. That'd be great. Yeah.
The confidence, the manager will, and I know I'm going to go through the team that I believe he'll go with. It looks like he has got certain pockets of areas that he might be more settled with than others, which is fantastic, because I think last year we were settled on a nucleus of his team, and it was just continue week in, week out of just playing.
And that does make a difference.
I think we've chopped and changed far too many times this season.
He got all those players in, and he just didn't know what to do with them, it felt, for a little while.
Yeah. Just on that, Kofi's just messaged, evening mate, I know you've had a dentist appointment, so hope you're feeling better. How many points is acceptable for the next 4 games? Caroline, what do you think your thoughts on that?
Well, I'd like to think we could get 6 or 8.
Yeah.
That would be pretty good.
Yeah, I think
couple of wins, couple of draws.
Yeah, I think if someone offered me 7 right now, I'd snap their hands off. If someone offered me 2 wins, a draw and a defeat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not too fussed about the Sunderland game. I think if someone offered me those points and we lost that game, it's just another game. You know, it's a big game, of course it is. But the Birmingham game's another big game as well, and Cardiff's a big game for different reasons. I understand. I've been brought up as a Middlesbrough fan. I was brought up as a Middlesbrough player. I hated playing against Sunderland in terms of because I brought up to dislike them.
Of course.
It was a massive game, but every game's a big game now. You've got 46 massive cup finals, and if you want to be successful in the season, the derbies are massive, but they're no bigger than.
It's just another game. You know, it's only 3. It's only
like
the same 3 points. You've got to think like that. If we won the other 3 and lost that one, I think actually we'd all be pretty happy.
100%. 100%. I think that's got to be the mental attitude, because listen, if you won the other 3 and then that was a free one, go for it. You know what I mean? Because that's the mentality we've got to have, because you're going up to that. If you can get something against Watford, you can be positive against Cardiff through the week on the Tuesday, and then you go on that on the weekend, following weekend. You know what I mean? So I think if somebody offered me 6 and 7, I think I'd be
pretty pleased.
If somebody offered you 8 and staying unbeaten, that'd be absolutely delirious with it. I'd be over the moon. Stuart's come back with just glad we stopped the losing streak. Now we can fly up the table.
Absolutely, hopefully.
I think that's a given now, Stuart. I think it's important that we look up, hopefully, instead of looking. Well, maybe didn't have any other way.
We haven't got a very fast look down still, but
I think the teams below us, the Sheffield Wednesdays, etc. I mean, for me, they're the worst team I've seen this season, and I'm a big firm believer of the league tables don't lie. And teams have been down there for a reason. We were poor,
we were bottom for a reason, and now I think, fingers crossed, hopefully, for a reason we'll start climbing up the table.
Yeah, Stuart can't lose against the Mackhams. I don't want to lose against the Mackhams. I don't want to lose any game, but I think it's important to take every game as it comes and believe, and understanding that every game's important. You know, no one game for me as an ex-player, as a fan, as a manager of Northern League, non-league football, that you've got to take every game into isolation. You've got to understand that every game's important. They're all winnable. You can lose them all as well. You know what I mean? You've got to take what you can from every single game and get as many points over the course of a season. It's a 46-game season, so a long season, and just hope that we can gather enough points throughout. Obviously, Caroline, we beat Bradford City in the cup Tuesday. Tuesday night. We got for me the best possible draw that we could get. I looked at all the teams when the draw was coming out, and there was 2 that I picked out. I picked Mansfield out and I picked Exeter out. I know Exeter beat Luton Town. Luton made a lot of changes.
And they're very poor when they've got their first team out. So you know what I mean. You can't really reflect and look at things in too much detail. But what was your thoughts on? Did you want anyone different? Are we happy with the draw? I was torn, to be honest. I think Michael Carrick said the same thing. I was sort of thinking a Newcastle or a Man City, obviously it wouldn't be Man City, it would be Newcastle, or a Man United at the Riverside would be a great cup night. But then I thought, actually, we've got a chance here to get through to a quarter-final, even a semi-final. I do feel sorry for the travelling fans, though. It's a heck of a long way down to Exeter.
And on the Saturday previously, we got Plymouth.
Plymouth, which is even further.
Yeah, which is further.
So anybody fancies a weekend in a week actually in Devon, it's probably a good time to go. Yeah, but I agree with you, actually. I think it's a great draw.
I think when I've looked at the whole thing, you go back to the Huddersfield game, and then the Bolton game, and then the Bradford game, and then now the Exeter game. I think when the Bradford game was drawn, I thought, yeah, get a big club, get the buzz around the place, try and make an upset, try and make a name for ourselves. But then when we got Bradford,
but then you win, you actually want to
gather
keep
momentum.
Going.
Want to try and gather momentum. Want to try and let it look now. Listen, we beat Exeter City, or Exeter City beat Middlesbrough. We're in the quarter-final. You know what I mean? And for one of those clubs and a Port Vale and a Mansfield to be in the quarter-finals. You know,
it'll be massive for either club, Middlesbrough, Exeter, whoever wins, it'll be massive. I'd rather it was at home, but
this kind of momentum, I think, is pivotal and so important,
isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we've got our history with the Carling Cup at Cardiff. You know that I think we were starved of our success at Wembley, which is, I mean, probably the only dampener on it. You know,
Yeah,
obviously
it would be nice to
went to
go
Wembley
to
in the Zenith
Wembley.
Theatre against Chelsea. We played Chelsea in the FA Cup, in the Carling Cup. We played Leicester City.
Leicester City,
We've had a
yeah.
few. We've played in
And the
playoff
playoff against
finals.
Norwich,
So we've
yeah.
had a lot of negatives. So you know what I mean. For me to be a little step closer to that holy grail, to have a little bit of positivity there. You know what I mean. That's my ultimate dream as a Middlesbrough fan, was always to play at Wembley, to score at Wembley, to win a trophy for Middlesbrough at Wembley, to watch my team win at Wembley. You know, as a fan, we all want to do that.
Of
you know
course
what I
we
mean?
do, yeah. I mean, we're lucky that we've managed to see our teams play at Wembley.
Yeah.
We haven't seen them do particularly well. We're lucky that we've seen our team actually lift a cup, because let's be honest, there's a lot of fans not too far away from us who haven't seen that in their lifetimes. Yeah. So, yeah, let's go to Exeter, let's win, and then let's really look. Then we will start getting excited.
Just on that point, it's not about beating Man City; it's about getting the longevity and winning the cup, isn't it?
Okay, we'll go with that.
Obviously, we spoke about the team selection from Saturday. Were you surprised the selection that he went with at Southampton?
A little bit, because I thought he might stick with some of the new players that he then dropped down to the bench. I mean, obviously we were without a left back, but hasn't O'Neill come in and done brilliantly? O'Brien, beg his pardon.
Yeah, O'Brien,
yeah. Hasn't he come in and done really well? In fact, on Tuesday night, people were comparing him to the way Ryan Giles played, and that's not a bad thing.
He's comfortable on the ball, Caroline.
Yeah,
he's comfortable with the ball. He can defend.
Because he's that type of midfielder.
He's quite tenacious. He can battle. He can scrap. He can do the horrible things. He does the hard yards, and I think that's what Giles did. But he had the quality.
But he had the quality and the flair to get forward.
And O'Brien does
as well.
Yeah, O'Brien has that left foot. He has the wand in terms of where he wants to go, where he can go. I was quite surprised that he went back to putting Johnny Howson in the middle, especially against a few younger players from Southampton. I thought he might have maybe brought him on, but I'm pleased.
Again, maybe it was a confidence thing. He thought, let's give Johnny another go. And I think Hayden Hackney always looks a bit more comfortable. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great player, and he is one of our standouts for this season. But when he's got Johnny Howson alongside him, he looks even better. Somehow, I think Howson frees him up to get forward a little bit with a bit more freedom, and he can look quite dangerous at times. Yeah.
Do you think on that point? I think I said it last week or the week before, and I think Johnny Howson was always Hayden's. I called him his comfort blanket, because I think he seems to play a lot better. He seems to feel a lot more comfortable knowing that he's by his side, and I think everyone has that kind of player that they look up to, that player that can put their arm around them and help them out, and as long as you know they're there, that you can go and play your own game, knowing that you've got them to back you up and get you out of trouble. Whereas when you keep chopping and changing, and you have a different partner who, if you go and they stay, or vice versa,
you're not quite sure what
you've got that relationship.
And
last year they were probably close to telepathic as you probably got as a midfield pair, that Hayden was allowed to go forward, Johnny covered round. If Johnny went forward, not very often, but Hayden would cover round, and then Riley would do his own things. And I think when you have that perfect partner, if that's a centre forward, if that's a winger and a fullback, two centre midfielders, two centre halves, I think we can start to see some really important partnerships getting made. I think Lenihan and Dale Fry, I think the manager obviously looks like
I think they're undoubtedly his pair.
And I think if you're talking spine of the team, he likes his goalkeeper. I think he's had a real positive start. I've
been pretty pleased with him. I know Zach Steffen had his critics, but he was playing the way Michael Carrick wanted him to play. Passing the ball out, almost being an 11th outfield player at times. And I think Sam Dieng's looking as though he's a similar type of player. I've been pretty happy with the way he's played actually this season.
I think he's impressed. I think he's impressed a lot of people. And listen, he was at a club who was struggled. You know, I mean, QPR. He was always busy, because QPR didn't set the league on fire, and they were always letting goals in and having shots against them. So I think he's had a lot of practice, which impresses obviously teams like Middlesbrough. I think he's got the right club at the right time. We've got the right goalkeeper moving forward. I know he's probably not as technically gifted as Stefan and on the ball and moving the way that he did, but I think with shot stopping and some of the saves that he made early on in the season, I think things could have been a hell of a lot worse than they are currently, with goals against, than if he hadn't performed as well as he did. I'm pleased that the manager has given Josh Coburn an opportunity. I think as a young centre forward, and when I came through, that I didn't just come in for one game. I got 2 or 3, and then if I didn't perform, I'd go back out, have a rest, and come back in again later in the time. And I think it's so important that young players are given those times to flourish, those minutes, because you can't impress 15, 20 minutes even there, 5, 10 minutes here and there. You've got to have the nucleus of time. You've got to start games 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 minutes to really impress. And I think he had his learning curve last year at Bristol Rovers, and I think we're getting the rewards now, especially the last couple of games.
I think he's cementing his place up front.
Yeah.
And we all remember that goal against Tottenham, where he really made his name.
Yeah.
And then I think people were thinking, oh, he's going to be the next big thing. But I think they did the right thing, sending him out on loan. I'm glad they didn't this season, because obviously we need him. Although I think if we'd have actually brought in a centre forward in the transfer window, he might have actually gone out on loan again. But I think the fact that he hasn't, I think that is going to benefit him and us. And as I said, I think he's going to cement his place in the team. And the players that he may have around him, the Sammy Falzeras, the Morgan Rogers, the Latte Lass, they're different types of players to him. And I think they might end up, if they can get a nice partnership going with them, it could be pretty good.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it's so important for him though, because being a local boy, I think he'll get more opportunity. I think fans will buy into him a little bit more. And I think with the players who've gone up there and tried, I won't say they've failed, because I think Latte Lass done okay in his first few moments as a Middlesbrough player. Obviously, I was pleased that he got his goal in midweek. I think centre forwards and goals are so important that they're like buses sometimes, that when you get one, they come naturally all the time, and which is important. But I think players deserve that opportunity to play and have regular minutes, and I think Josh leads the line really well. He's obviously bulked up. He's obviously worked on the areas that he needs to work in and get more out of his game. I thought against Sheffield Wednesday, second half especially, he was bullying centre halves. When he flashed that shot across the goal, and he was unlucky with the goal that Lenihan scored, that he was really close to getting it. And I think there's opportunities at the weekend. There's goals are coming for Josh. That's probably the only thing that he's missing from his game.
At the moment, is goals.
But
he's learning every week.
But last year he got the goals, and
he's learning every week. And I can imagine working with Mo Carrick and the rest of his team. Whatever they did to Chuba Akpom, if they can just sprinkle a bit of that magic onto Josh Coburn, then we'll be looking at a really good player who's scoring us quite a few goals.
Yeah, totally. No, I really hope that's a fact, because I think we had a discussion in here with Dave and the boys about I can't remember the centre forward wise. We haven't had. Danny Graham, I think, was probably one of the last young local centre forwards to come through and score loads of goals. Who cemented his place and had that opportunity before leaving. Obviously, he played for Watford. He played for Sunderland. So he's played against quite a lot of the rival teams that we were playing against. Obviously, I played left in 2001, 2002. So you're going back a long time. We've had fullbacks. Are we still on? We've had fullbacks. No, I'm not on Facebook here. We've had fullbacks. We've had wingers. We've had centre midfielders. We've had all players who have been important to the club and important to areas. But I think centre forwards one local player that we're missing. Goalkeepers we've had a plenty. We've still got them. They've got loaned out and stuff. But
strikers are a rare commodity. Yeah. Good strikers.
That's why
they go for so much money.
If you get one and build them through and sell them on.
Exactly. You keep it, don't you?
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah,
totally agree. Stuart spoke about Wembley with Middlesbrough. Mine was to get to Wembley with the Boro, turned down an Englingham or two for the ZDS Cup final. The ZDS Cup final, by the way, broke my heart. When Tony Dorigo scored the goal, and I met Tony a couple of times, and I did tell him face to face that he broke my heart, and I never forgive people. I always remember the name Tony Dorigo when he put that free kick in the top corner. I haven't cried many times.
It's funny that Stuart should say that, because I said through my entire football supporting career, I would never go to a game at Wembley until Middlesbrough played there. My first game at Wembley had to be Middlesbrough. Yeah. And then after that, I've been to a few different ones since, but the first one had to be Middlesbrough. Yeah, I think and it was obviously that ZDS final.
It means more, Caroline, doesn't it?
It does.
I think, to see your team lead, to see Tony Mowbray, Tony being a local, absolute legend of the club, I absolutely adore the man. To see him lead out our team and have all our heroes, it was just, to see them in the heritage hampers, I went to school with Owen McGee, and, getting those opportunity. That day was brilliant. Apart from the result and having not scoring and stuff, but I think you always remember those moments as a Middlesbrough fan.
But do you not remember on the Monday morning, the Evening Gazette headline,
Yeah.
front page headline. Just because a bloke in blue scored a goal doesn't mean we lost.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that entire Wembley was red and white that day.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
No, totally. Tracy, what would your starting 11 be on Saturday against Watford? Well, I've got me starting 11 here. So I've gone for Sendy Yang in goal.
It has to be, yeah.
I think it
Yeah,
has to be. I think we're speaking about now about the players in isolation and the players in different pockets in different areas. I think it's two centre halves, Fry and Lenihan, I think are nailed on.
Undoubtedly.
I think Van der Berg, I think he's done really well since coming back from
Provided he's
injury.
fit.
If he's fit,
If
I think
he's
he's
fit,
having a lot of hamstrings, a lot of issues. But I think he's a new player. He's young. He's going to pick up these kind of injuries. But I think if we can look after him,
he comes with a massive pedigree.
Yeah, he does, totally.
He was really highly rated.
Yeah, totally.
By
I think
a lot
he's
of
got a real
clubs.
good reputation
Yeah.
as well. So I think if we can nurture him and get him through where we want to be, I think Johnny Howson has to play.
Yeah,
if there's no issues with his fitness, he has to play. And who better than have Hayden next to him? Hayden's just it's the stalwart in there. And the manager seems to like Matty Crooks. He seems to put him in those areas. I think his physicality and the way that he wants to play is brilliant. I think Riley's having that more of an attacking threat, that free role. For me,
I'd have Riley in the team.
It makes things happen, you know what I mean? If he was dropping back in midfield, I think he'd have to take Matty Crooks' place for me in my team. Isaiah Jones, the second half against Sheffield Wednesday, brilliant. Things have improved, so we just need that continuation. For me, the only thing that Isaiah struggles with is his consistency.
Yeah,
and I think if we
maybe needs a run of games.
If we can get that consistency for Isaiah, and we start getting the assists like we know he can do, if he can get goals to his game, I think we'll have a proper
speed,
player.
it frightens players, doesn't it? It must do.
You know, I don't compare him to Adama Traore, because Adama's pace was ridiculous, but the way that he travels with the ball from deep areas and he just glides past people, he just takes people on effortless. I think it's so electric. It gets you on the edge of your seat.
No, absolutely. Yeah, you feel as though something's going to happen. Yeah.
And I think we've been very lucky. Having real good wide players at Middlesbrough. I can go back to John Hendry's, the Stuart Ripley's, the Adama Traore's, you know what I mean? The Isaiah Joneses, even when Christian's eager.
I can go back to Derek Downing,
you can
Hugh
go back
McEmoyle, and then John Hickton up front.
John Hickton, Terry Cochran, you know, you can go back to all these real fast, direct wingers that we've got, but they're in the job to do it. They're in the team to do a real good job. You know what I mean? To get down the line, cross balls in, and make things happen. And if we've got good wide players, if McGree from the left, Isaiah from the right can get balls into Josh Coburn, who had...
Then they will score goals.
He'll score goals.
Yeah, they will score goals.
I think the more opportunities we can create. You said earlier on that would Akpom score 30 goals this season? Is he getting the service that we had last season? Possibly not.
No,
you know what I mean? We might be having half chances, but he was getting some real delivery, you know what I mean, from left and right. And I think if we can get back to that.
Some of the times I think, well, I could have scored that, but that's great because it just shows how good the delivery is, just putting it there for him to put in the box.
Yeah. Stuart said the whole weekend was great. I'm guessing you talked about the Chelsea game. It was great until the game started, probably, and then the game finished, but then the rest of it was brilliant.
It's amazing, actually, how often the football spells great day out.
It does, yeah. Well,
but there we go.
Well, I said this, Caroline. I said this a few weeks ago, that sometimes, and I think a lot of people have that mindset that the football's secondary. You know what I mean? That people enjoy the prior, and people enjoy the pause, but you know what I mean? The football can become secondary because it can let you down. And being a Middlesbrough fan, I think you're probably used to
I was going to say, what do they say? The two things in life that are or the three things: death, taxes, and Middlesbrough will always let you down.
Yeah, we always do. Yeah. Stuart comes out with, do you think McGree can get double figures this season in goals? I think if he's given games and he plays every game from now to the end of the season, I'd be disappointed if he didn't get double figures.
Yeah, he certainly tries, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think
he likes the shot. He likes to get up there.
I think the way that he plays, he gets in real good pockets, real good areas. He's very direct. His quality is undoubtable. I think his assists, the way that he's come on in the cup games, he's either set things up to happen, or he scored goals. And I think those players are worth the weight in gold. And I don't know if there was an injury. I don't know if he was disappointed that he was still leaving the window when the window shut, but there was obviously something. There was a reason why he wasn't playing. But the window shut, which is a fantastic thing for everybody concerned, that we can concentrate on what we've got and who we can work with. And I think we're getting the rewards of him, because if he is getting back fit now, we're going to get the rewards of it, you know. So I think he's a superb player. He brings a different dimension because he's very technical. He can open a door. He's got an eye for goal. He's got the whole package for me. He's one of the
I
best
agree.
midfield players or attacking players in the Championship. And the more games he'll play, the better he'll get, the more confident he'll get. We just need to make sure that we match his ambition, because he's an international footballer.
Of course he is, yeah. I mean, he wants to win games, but
he wants
he
to
also wants
play.
to play in the Premier League.
He wants to
That's
play.
really what he came to England
Yeah,
for, isn't
totally.
it? Playing in the Premier League.
And I think he would stay, like a lot of players would, if Middlesbrough got to the Premier League, but we need to make sure we match his ambition so that we're not missing out on another good footballer, because
Yeah, we don't want to
make
be
sure
losing
we're not
our
selling
best
club.
players again at the end of the season.
We're not selling club. Is there any changes that you would make, Caroline, if you were picking your 11? Is there any player that stands out for you?
Probably go back to the Southampton team,
Yeah.
to be honest, I mean, we talked about left back. It looks as though it'll probably have to be the same, because Alex Banguri's out for possibly a while, isn't he? Engels, I think he's not quite fit, is he?
I think he struggled, didn't he? He struggled against Sheffield Wednesday. I think he struggled against
yeah.
Sheffield Wednesday, and I think taking him out of the firing line, I think, was probably a good thing, because
Yeah,
he
I agree.
really struggled in the
It
first half.
really had a...
It was a little bit heartbreaking, isn't it, when you see someone on the pitch struggling like that?
Yeah, it was so obvious as well.
It was
just so
he wasn't just
obvious.
getting beat by his winger. He was getting beat, took inside.
And sadly,
and
it was
ran
all
in.
highlighted by the commentators on TV, etc. So
which is a downside of the game being on TV.
Yeah, it was a real shame.
Yeah.
I think he did the right thing taking him off, and I think he brought Isaiah on, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
And it did change
on.
the game. Because also it means that they had to think about what Isaiah does,
Yeah.
whereas Engels obviously is a completely different type of player.
Yeah, and I think it's important though, isn't it? That people have been questioning the manager, people have been questioning the chairman, people have been questioning certain players, each other. I think it's important that we look at it in isolation and look at that. You know what I mean? The manager never got flustered. The manager never seemed to lose his calm under pressure. Yes, he might have picked the odd yellow card up here and there, but listen, he's passionate during the game. Those moments of passion happen in football. You know, when players get the yellow cards, managers allowed them by questioning and doing things. But every press conference, every interview, his players go out ice cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he seems to want to take the pressure from his players, and he'll take it all on himself, but remain completely calm.
Yeah.
He's never criticised really during this bad run. He's always said he's pleased of the way the lads played, or the attitude, or the work rate, which is great, and that must have given them some confidence as well. But yeah, calmness. I mean, I have met him a couple of times, and he just seems to exude that anyway in real
like that
life.
As a player, Caroline, didn't you know that at Man United he was ice cool.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Never seemed to get flustered. Yes, he was, and the pressure at United was massive. You know what I mean? With the pressure they were under as top players. Yes, he was playing with top players, but he's now managing, in my opinion, one of the best clubs in the country. And he's got good players to work with. He's making players better on a weekly, daily basis. You know what I mean? On a seasonal basis. You know what I mean? So, and I think the lads who did move on to bigger and better things in their opinion, have got the manager to thank for that, along with the coaching staff. So I think his philosophy works. The way that he wants to play the game works. I think I would like sometimes to look at a plan B. But listen, I'm not here to doubt the manager. I think he's a very good young coach, very good young manager who will go on to be a top manager, top manager, and I hope that's with this club.
Well, it'd be nice to think we could keep him for
match his
a
ambition
good
again.
period of time. As you say, match his ambition.
Yeah.
Maybe he will go on to be a Man United manager one day, but let's hope it's off the back of doing some spectacular things at Middlesbrough for 5 years or more. That would be amazing.
Yeah,
because we've had too much chopping and changing over the last
we
few
have,
years.
and I think we spoke. The amount of managers we've had in the last 6-7 years is it's not the way that you want to go down.
No,
you know, you look at the models. We spoke about this. The models of the Brentford, for example. You know what I mean? Their model of when they brought their manager in and where they are now. That they're the things that you want to try and emulate. They're the things that, you know, I mean, not copy the way they are, because if Middlesbrough can get where they want to get to, and we all get where we want to see our football club, we're a bigger club than teams like that. So if we can get there and sustain it and have that sustainability and the positivity, I think. You know what I mean? But you can't run before you can walk. We can't get excited.
Our successes have come with what you would call less experienced. You know, Brian Robson, he'd not managed before.
Never.
I mean, Steve McLaren even, he'd been a number 2, but he'd never been a number 1. And now Michael Carrick, whereas we had the Warnocks and the Pulises and the been there, done it everywhere. And it just wasn't Middlesbrough for whatever reason.
Some things don't fit, do they? Some people don't fit the mould and don't fit the criteria, and you know what I mean. We've had good links with Man United and ex-Man United, so you know what I mean. I think our three taken Aitor out of the equation, our 3 most successful managers
being
have
ex-Man
had an
United
links. So
Yeah.
hopefully that can have a continuation and a different mould. Hopefully Saturday can bring more positivity, more points, some goals, and hopefully come next Thursday we're talking about another 6 points or another 4 points and some real positivity, and we can look forward to the derby with potentially 5 games unbeaten.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want.
Hopefully.
Exactly what we want.
Hopefully. But Caroline, thanks for coming on the
That's
show.
been a pleasure. It's been
Really
a pleasure.
enjoyed it. Hopefully you come on again.
Yeah,
It'd be
absolutely.
great to have you back on. Thanks everybody for your comments and your questions, and we'll see you soon.